There is a version of wealth that everyone can see. The new car sitting in the driveway. The designer logo stretched across a shirt. The vacation photos posted from a five-star resort. And then there is the version of wealth that nobody talks about. The kind that does not make noise. The kind that does not need an audience. The kind that quietly compounds in the background while the person who has it drives a 6-year-old car and wears a plain shirt with no logo on it at all. The people who build real, lasting financial security almost always share one counterintuitive trait. It is not that they earn more than everyone else. It is that they have developed an extraordinary ability to say no to things that feel completely normal to say yes to. And the gap between what they buy and what most people buy is where their wealth gets built, one decision at a time. This is not about being cheap. It is not about deprivation. It is about understanding the true cost of things and refusing to pay it when the cost is not worth what you get in return. Here are 10 things that quietly wealthy people almost never spend their money on. Number 1. Financed luxury vehicles. The quietly wealthy person is not driving a flashy luxury car with a 5-year payment plan attached to it. They understand something about cars that most people never stop to calculate. A vehicle is not an investment. It is a depreciating asset. The moment a brand new car leaves a dealership lot, it loses roughly 20% of its value. Within 5 years, the average new car has lost more than half of what it cost to buy. So when someone finances a $45,000 car and drives it off the lot, they are immediately underwater on an asset that will keep losing value for as long as they own it. Quietly wealthy people buy reliable vehicles that are 2 to 3 years old, in cash when possible, and they drive them for a decade. They let someone else absorb the brutal first depreciation hit. They get the same reliability, often the same features, for a fraction of the price. And the money they do not spend on monthly car payments gets redirected toward assets that actually grow. Number 2. Anything with a logo doing the selling. There is a reason luxury brands invest more in marketing than in materials. The logo is the product. The actual item inside the box, the shirt, the handbag, the watch, is often functionally indistinguishable from a version that costs a fraction of the price. What you are paying the premium for is the social signal. You are paying to broadcast a message about your status to people who, research consistently shows, are far too busy thinking about their own status to pay much attention to yours. Quietly wealthy people ask one question before they buy anything. Am I paying for quality or am I paying for a name? They will pay a genuine premium for something that is genuinely better. A well-made tool that lasts 20 years instead of 2. A piece of clothing with superior construction that holds up through hundreds of washes. They will not pay a premium for a logo stitched onto average materials. That distinction, repeated across hundreds of purchases over a lifetime, amounts to an extraordinary sum of money that either gets spent on symbols or invested in actual growth. Number 3. The maximum the bank will approve for housing. Banks do not calculate mortgage approval amounts based on what is financially healthy for you. They calculate them based on what you can technically afford to pay back without defaulting. Those are two completely different numbers. And the fact that a bank will approve you for a $600,000 mortgage does not mean a $600,000 mortgage is a good idea for your financial future. When someone maxes out their housing budget, what usually happens is that the mortgage payment, combined with property taxes, insurance, and the maintenance costs that financial planners estimate at roughly 1% of a home's value per year, consumes so much of their monthly income that there is nothing left to invest. They are what is called house poor. They own an impressive asset on paper and have almost no financial flexibility in real life. Quietly wealthy people buy well below what they are approved for, sometimes significantly below. And that gap, the difference between what they could spend on housing each month and what they actually spend, becomes the most reliable wealth-building engine in their entire financial life. That extra money goes into investments, month after month, decade after decade, compounding quietly while their neighbor in the dream house counts the days until the next paycheck. Number 4. Lottery tickets and anything that promises fast money. The expected return on a lottery ticket is approximately 50 cents for every dollar spent. Americans collectively spend more money on lottery tickets every year than they spend on movies, music, books, sports, and video games combined. The lottery functions as a tax on the mathematical discomfort of accepting that real wealth building is slow, boring, and requires patience rather than luck. Quietly wealthy people have accepted that discomfort. They have made peace with the fact that compound interest is not exciting. An index fund does not give you a dopamine hit the way a scratch ticket does. There is no moment of revelation, no jackpot, no story to tell at a dinner party. There is just a percentage that grows on top of a percentage, month after month, until one day the number in the account is large enough to generate real income on its own. That is the only version of fast money that actually exists. And it is only fast if you start early enough and wait long enough. Number 5. Vacations funded by credit card debt. Travel is one of life's genuine pleasures, and quietly wealthy people are not opposed to it. The difference is that they travel within their actual means. If the money is saved, they go. If it is not saved, the trip waits. What social media has normalized is something completely different. A resort vacation that costs $12,000 put on a credit card at 22% interest. What was supposed to be a week of joy becomes 4 to 6 months of minimum payments and a financial hangover that costs far more than the vacation itself. The people who saw the photos on social media thought you were thriving. They had no idea that the credit card statement waiting at home made your stomach drop the moment you opened it. Quietly wealthy people understand that an experience financed by debt is not really an experience you could afford. It is an experience you borrowed from your future self at a very high interest rate. They would rather take a simpler trip they can genuinely afford and come home with their financial peace of mind intact. Number 6. Extended warranties. Extended warranties are one of the highest margin products that retail stores sell. Some electronics retailers make more profit from extended warranties than from the products themselves. That margin has to come from somewhere, and it comes from the fact that the vast majority of products never need repair within the extended warranty window. Consumer electronics tend to fail early, within the original manufacturer's warranty, if they are going to fail at all due to a manufacturing defect. If a product survives the first few months, it typically runs reliably for years. The extended warranty period, usually years 2 through 4, is statistically the safest window. Quietly wealthy people self-insure. They maintain an emergency fund specifically so that when something breaks, they replace it from savings without drama, without claims processes, and without the ongoing cost of premiums they are almost certainly never going to use. Number 7. Whole life insurance when term plus investing would serve them better. This is the one that surprises people the most because whole life insurance is sold as the responsible, sophisticated choice. Insurance and investment combined. Coverage for life with a cash value that builds over time. It sounds comprehensive. It sounds like something a financially serious person would do. Here is what the math actually shows. Whole life insurance premiums are typically 10 to 15 times higher than a comparable term life insurance policy. A term policy gives you pure death benefit coverage for a defined period, clean, and affordable. The difference in premium between a whole life policy and a term policy, invested consistently in a low-cost index fund over 30 years, grows into a sum that dwarfs the cash value the whole life policy would have accumulated. For most people, the combination of affordable term coverage and independent investing produces significantly better outcomes than whole life insurance at every stage of the analysis. This is general education, not personal financial advice, and specific situations vary. But for the average person trying to protect their family and build wealth simultaneously, the math strongly favors keeping these two functions separate. Number 8. The newest technology on launch day. Technology companies have built entire marketing systems around manufacturing urgency. The countdown timer, the pre-order queue, the keynote presentation designed to make last year's device feel embarrassingly outdated. Early adopters pay the highest price for a product that still has undiscovered bugs and unoptimized software. 6 months after launch day, the price has usually dropped. The bugs have been patched. Independent reviews have confirmed whether the product is actually worth owning or whether the excitement was mostly manufactured. Quietly wealthy people wait. Not forever, just long enough for the frenzy to settle and reality to reassert itself. And more often than not, they discover that the urgent need they felt on launch day was entirely engineered, and the product they thought they had to have is something they are perfectly content without. Number 9. Revolving credit card balances. If compound interest is the most powerful wealth-building force available to ordinary people, then credit card debt is compound interest running in the opposite direction. At 20, 22, sometimes 25% or more, a credit card balance does not just cost you money. It actively reverses your financial progress in a way that is mathematically brutal. A $5,000 balance at 22% interest, paid only with minimum payments, takes over 15 years to eliminate and costs more than $7,000 in interest alone on top of the original balance. You end up paying nearly $12,000 for $5,000 worth of purchases. Quietly wealthy people treat their credit card balance like a non-negotiable monthly bill that gets paid in full without exception. They use credit cards for the rewards and purchase protections. They never carry a balance. For them, the credit card is a tool, not a lifeline. And that single distinction is worth tens of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Number 10. Their own time spent on their lowest value tasks. This one does not feel like a purchase, which is exactly why most people overlook it. But quietly wealthy people understand something fundamental about the mechanics of building wealth. Time is the only truly non-renewable resource. It cannot be earned back. It cannot be replaced. And how you allocate it determines not just what you accomplish, but who you become financially over the long run. So they think about their time the way a serious business thinks about its most constrained resource. Strategically, they ask what the highest value use of their time actually is right now. And anything that does not qualify, the yard work, the administrative tasks, the grocery runs that consume 2 hours every week, gets evaluated against what those hours would produce if redirected towards something more valuable. This does not mean spending recklessly on convenience. The math still has to justify the trade. But quietly wealthy people are ruthlessly honest with themselves about whether they are investing their hours in something that generates real return or simply filling time with tasks that feel productive but are not moving the most important things forward. None of the 10 things on this list feel like life-changing decisions when you face them individually. That is exactly what makes them so consequential over time. Each one seems reasonable in the moment. Each one has a perfectly logical justification. But across thousands of decisions made over decades, these 10 categories represent an enormous amount of money that either flows toward building genuine security or toward maintaining the appearance of it. Quietly wealthy people are not necessarily smarter than anyone else. They do not always earn more. They have simply made a consistent, often invisible decision to optimize for what their money actually does rather than what it signals to the people around them. And the result of that decision, compounded across years and decades, is the kind of financial security that does not need to announce itself, because it does not need to impress anyone. Real wealth is quiet. It always has been. And the loudest version of money in any room is almost always the one that has the least of it left.